On Monday, Trump launched Operation Project Freedom. The United States Navy would guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz. 15,000 service members, more than 100 aircraft, guided missile destroyers, the most powerful navy on Earth asserting navigational authority over 33 kilometers of Iranian controlled water. Iran fired back. Missiles, drones, small boats. The U.S. Navy sank 7 of them. 2 commercial ships made it through. On Tuesday, Trump paused Operation Project Freedom. 24 hours. That is how long America's most dramatic Hormuz operation lasted before the president put it on hold. And I want to spend the next 15 minutes explaining exactly what happened. Because the version you are hearing from the White House and the version that the specific facts tell you are not the same version. What Trump actually said when he paused it, let me read you Trump's exact words from Truth Social. He wrote, "Based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, the tremendous military success that we have had during the campaign against the country of Iran, and additionally, the fact that great progress has been made toward the complete and final agreement with representatives of Iran, we have mutually agreed that, while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed." 3 claims in that statement: tremendous military success, great progress toward the complete agreement. Pakistan and other countries requested the pause. Let me address each one. Tremendous military success. The United States Navy sank 7 Iranian small boats and escorted 2 commercial ships through the strait. Simultaneously, Hapag-Lloyd, one of the world's largest shipping companies, said transits through Hormuz are, for the moment, not possible for their vessels. 2 ships made it through. The commercial shipping market has not resumed. Hormuz remains effectively closed to the global shipping industry. That is not tremendous military success. That is a demonstration, a costly, dramatic demonstration that changed nothing about the commercial shipping picture in the strait. Great progress toward a complete agreement. Secretary of State Rubio said on Tuesday that Operation Epic Fury, the 40-day bombing campaign that began on February 28th, is over. He said, "We achieved the objectives." If the objectives were achieved on February 28th through April 8th, and great progress toward a complete agreement exists today, then the question is, what specifically has changed in the last 24 hours that constitutes great progress? The White House did not respond to a request for comment or further detail on the progress in negotiations. Iran has not confirmed any new agreement. The same gap that existed yesterday, Iran's 14-point framework versus America's nuclear first demand, exists today. Pakistan and other countries requested the pause. This is the most analytically significant element of the 3. Pakistan is the mediator in these talks. When Pakistan asks America to pause a military operation to allow negotiating space, and America complies, Pakistan is telling you that the military operation was damaging the negotiating track and not advancing it. You do not pause something because it is working. You pause it because continuing it costs more than stopping it. Iran fired on American destroyers. America sank 7 Iranian boats. Pakistan called and asked for a pause. Trump paused. That is what actually happened, what Iran said after the pause. Here is the detail that the American coverage is not leading with. After Trump announced the pause, Iran's top official warned that America has not even begun yet in the standoff over Hormuz. Not "we welcome the pause," not "we are ready to negotiate," not even begun yet. That statement is Iran's IRGC communicating to its domestic audience and to Washington that the pause was not produced by Iranian weakness. It was not produced by Iranian concern about American military capacity. The IRGC fired at American destroyers on Monday, and Iran's officials are responding to Tuesday's pause by saying America has not seen what Iran is capable of. This is the communication that your 48-like comment, "USA people don't want war," needs to understand. The people watching this channel, Americans who want peace, Americans who are paying $4.48 at the pump, Americans who watched Spirit Airlines close and are wondering when this ends deserve to know that the pause did not happen because Iran blinked. The pause happened because Iran fired and Pakistan called, and the negotiating track was more valuable than the military demonstration. Iran did not blink. It fired, and America paused. What Araghchi's Beijing meeting means. On the same day that Trump paused Project Freedom, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing. This was the first time since the war began on February 28th that Araghchi traveled to China. And the timing on the day of the pause, 8 days before the Beijing summit, is not coincidental. Araghchi is in Beijing because the deal, if it comes, will be built in Beijing, not in Islamabad, not in Muscat, not on Truth Social. In the room where Xi Jinping and Wang Yi compare notes with Iran's foreign minister, understand Iran's full position, and then prepare for the moment when Trump arrives at the summit on May 14th and 15th. Secretary of State Rubio asked China, publicly in a White House briefing, to tell Araghchi that continued hostility in Hormuz will cause Tehran to be globally isolated. Rubio is asking China to deliver a message to the foreign minister who is currently sitting in China's foreign ministry having a meeting with China's foreign minister. Read that again. America's top diplomat is publicly asking China to threaten Iran with isolation, while Iran's foreign minister is in Beijing, being welcomed by China's foreign minister for the first time since the war began. China is not going to threaten Iran with isolation. China is the reason Iran is not isolated. China's shadow fleet, China's yuan payment system, China's strategic reserves, these are the infrastructure that has kept Iran economically functional for 77 days of this conflict. Rubio asking China to isolate Iran while Araghchi is in Beijing is not diplomacy. It is the statement of a government that has run out of leverage ideas and is asking the one party that holds the economic key to use it against the party that key is keeping alive. What the pause means for the Beijing summit, 8 days away. The Beijing summit is 8 days away, May 14th and 15th. Trump will sit across from Xi Jinping. The pause of Project Freedom changes what Trump brings to that room. He is no longer the president who launched a dramatic Hormuz operation and sustained it until the strait was open. He is the president who launched a dramatic Hormuz operation, had Iran fire at his ships, sank 7 Iranian boats, escorted 2 commercial ships through, and then paused the operation after 1 day. That is the factual record Trump carries into Beijing, and Xi will have been briefed by Araghchi, who is sitting in Beijing right now, on Iran's complete assessment of what the pause means. Iran's assessment, communicated through its official, is that America has not even begun yet. Iran's assessment is that the pause was produced by diplomatic pressure, Pakistan's intervention, not by military results. Iran's assessment is that its position in Hormuz is stronger after Monday than before it because it demonstrated it will fire on American destroyers, and the result was a diplomatic pause, not a sustained military campaign. Trump arrives in Beijing 8 days from now carrying a paused operation, a blockade that China's shadow fleet crosses, and a great progress claim that neither Iran nor the White House has specified the content of. Xi arrives having just hosted Araghchi, having compared notes with Russia, which briefed China on Iran's full negotiating position, having run the economic infrastructure that kept Iran viable for 77 days, and having watched America pause a military operation after 1 day of Iranian resistance. The comment your American audience left that I keep coming back to: USA people don't want war, don't want Israel, 48 likes, the most liked comment on this channel. As an American who just wants peace, Iran did what it had to do, and I say this as an American. These are the people watching this channel, Americans who want this to end, who are paying $4.48 per gallon, who watch Spirit Airlines shut down, who watch 15,000 American service members deploy to the strait, and then watch the operation pause after 1 day. Trump paused Project Freedom. Iran said, "We have not even begun." Araghchi is in Beijing. The summit is 8 days away. The pause is not the end of this conflict. The pause is what happens when a military demonstration meets a party that does not blink, and the mediator calls to say the negotiating track is more valuable than the operation. Watch Beijing, because what comes out of that summit will either be the deal that ends this or the decision that extends it. And for the Americans watching this channel, the difference between those two outcomes is measured in months of $4.48 gasoline and the job security of every airline employee who still has a job.